Hi guys, welcome to another edition of The Gifted. I'm Anil Balasuriya, and as always, we come to you today with a very, very talented individual. Okay, that's what this program is all about. It's basically introducing you to all the amazing people who are doing great things in so many different fields. Okay, and today we talk to Rashmi Wijewardana. Rashmi is doing big things in the world of tennis. Okay, she's based in Saudi. And very recently, she won a big tournament over there, and which kind of afforded her the luxury of training with some big players like Yannick Sinner, and that is the world number one at the moment, and Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, and Ons Jabeur, and all these people. So it was great. I saw some posts on Facebook, and I thought, since I'm a huge tennis fanatic myself, that we need to talk to her and see what it's all about. So. Okay, so hi Rashmi, it's so nice to finally meet you. As I said at the top of the program, I saw your this little competition that you had won going all over social media, and I spoke to your folks, and I had to chat to you because I'm also a massive tennis fan. And for the longest time, I've been waiting for someone from Sri Lanka to kind of take on the world of tennis and try and leave our very own mark in the sport. So it really made me happy to see you achieve such great things. And I know you're very young, you're only 15, but you're on your way, and it's just really it's quite inspiring actually. So Rashmi, tell us a little bit about how you got your start in tennis. What actually inspired you to get into sport, or who inspired you to get into the sport? So how did it all happen for you?
I first started tennis because of my father. He was the one who introduced me to the game, who wanted me to play in the first place. My mom always used to joke that he wanted a boy so that the boy could play rugby, because, my grandfather was like one of the best rugby players. So he wanted someone to continue that legacy till he realized, oh, I can play tennis. So ever since then, ever since he put me to my first lesson, it was really great. I fell in love with the sport, and I was around 6 years old, I think 6 or 7.
What can you remember? Did you used to watch tennis before? Even, well, I guess you were 6 years old, but I don't know how much sport you used to watch at 6 years old. But did you have an early memory of tennis, or watching something on TV? Nothing like that, no? Was this like totally new to you?
I don't remember watching anything at that age, but I do have a memory of my first lesson. And I remember being like really scared because I had never played the sport, or I actually hadn't seen anything about the sport at that time. So it was like completely new, and I was really scared. So
Right.
I like very vividly remember like my first time hitting the ball and everything. So those would be like my earliest memories.
Right. So, Rashmi, now 6 years old. Now, obviously, you're 15 now. What is your kind of workout regime, training regime? Because you are on the cusp of achieving some great things, and we'll get to that. But what's your training regime like? Like, what was it like from 6 to now? How has it changed? And what basically, so everyone has an idea how much you have to put into to get to a certain level in this sport.
So my training schedule on the off season, while we don't have a lot of matches, it's usually we try to play like 6 days a week at least, and it's usually like 2 hours. And occasionally we try to play 3 hours so we can get some match play in. And other than that, off court, I do a lot of running. So at least 3 days a week, I try to run like 5 kilometers on my treadmill. And on other days, I do like strengthening. So that's a lot of weights and a lot of movement exercises, because, movement is the most important thing in a sport like tennis. So it's always a lot of skipping and a lot of ladder exercises. And basically a lot of footwork.
Right. Is there any moment like in time when you're working out like this and you think, gosh, why am I doing this? Why can't I be like a normal person and not have to do all of this? Or does it ever cross your mind?
I mean, there are times when it's difficult to stay motivated, like you don't want to get out of bed and start working out first thing in the morning, but I do enjoy it to some extent.
Right.
Like I enjoy being on court and I enjoy um going for runs. So I like my lifestyle and I don't question it usually.
Okay, so now let's talk about. I mean, obviously, also when the results come, it makes all the hard work kind of worthwhile, right? So now you took part in this tournament and you won. Can you tell us a little bit about this tournament?
And it was a local tournament sponsored by Yonex. And it was a really great experience for me because I played the women's open category. So a lot of my opponents were elder than me, more experienced. So it was like a bit of a battle for me in these matches. And other than that, I met a lot of new people because there were actually a lot of international people, and my opponent was Venezuelan.
Right.
So
Right.
that was really tough.
Yeah. When you said it was like tough for you, what do you mean? Because the competition was so strong, or is that what you meant when you said it was tough certain times?
Yeah, specifically, I was actually recovering from an injury when I went into this match.
Oh, right.
I had an injury in my left leg in my calf.
Oh, wow.
So the 3 days before, I actually had 8 needles in my leg, like dry needling. Yeah, it was all over my lower leg. And honestly, it was like a goal for me was to just compete in this tournament and be able to finally play again without any injuries.
Right.
And it led to this big win. So it was a really good experience.
Oh my God,
And
that's
yeah.
brilliant, Rashmi. Like even the fact that you had those injuries and you still went on and won it, that's the testament to your hard work. You remind me of this girl, and actually I'm a big fan of this girl called Emma Raducanu. It's a British player. I when you told me that story,
Actually, that's one of my favorite players. Yeah.
Because she didn't expect, she just went for qualifiers and didn't expect to win, but then she went all the way and won the Grand Slam. So, Rashmi, tell us a little bit of, as a Sri Lankan, I know you live, in the Middle East and stuff, and but as a Sri Lankan, are there any challenges that kind of you have to deal with when you are in such a polarizing and competitive sport? Is there anything that comes, you ever feel like, okay, I'm an outsider, so I had to work twice as hard, or what's that like?
So I'd say for me personally, there aren't many challenges, other than the fact that there are not like any other Sri Lankans in tennis, even though there's around over 100,000 people, Sri Lankan people living in Saudi. It's that I'm probably one of the only people, Sri Lankan people who are playing tennis. So I don't see a lot of familiar faces. However, when you talk about like support and like inclusivity,
Right.
I don't feel like I need to put extra work, because I was a little worried at first that I may not have a lot of support because there's not a huge Sri Lankan community who watch tennis here.
Right.
But I was proven wrong because at my matches at my last tournament, I had a huge crowd supporting me, and a lot of my friends from here, a lot of Saudi people and
Right.
other people who watched the match, they all supported me. So it was really great, and I didn't feel like I was excluded in any way just because it was like not from here. So
I think now, like places like Dubai and stuff are becoming like a mecca for lots of sports, but tennis is really big now, right? There are lots of tournaments, lots of matches, like exhibition matches being played there and stuff like that. So, Rashmi, I saw some photographs of you, rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest players. Okay. And I was like, wow, you got such a good poker face. Like, you're like, okay, I do this every day. I have no problem that I'm standing next to Novak Djokovic or Daniel Medvedev or whatever. But so tell us about that. Like I saw you with Carlos Alcaraz and Novak and all that. So what was that? Was that like a training program, or how did you meet them all that day?
yeah, it was actually like a clinic in the sense where they were all here for like the top 6 players were here for the Six King Slam. which was held in Riyadh. And so I got the opportunity to basically meet them and play with them for an amount of time. And that was really great. It was me and a few other Saudi kids. So I got to like fully hit with Yannick Sinner, like the
Wow.
world number one
Number one
player.
in the world. Okay.
And yeah, and he told me that I was playing really great. So it's one
Nice.
moment that never left my mind because you're not going to have the world number one telling you that you're a good player. So it was really surreal to see Novak Djokovic and Carlos. Like when I first saw them, I had to remind myself that I wasn't watching my television and that they were in front of me. So it was like really hard to believe at first, and I was like so nervous to meet them.
Right. Were you all given, obviously, you all were given prior notice that they were going to be there. It's not like they sprung them on you, like it wasn't like a surprise, right? You knew that they were going to be there.
We knew that ranked players would be there, but
Oh, you
we
didn't know
didn't know
who.
who.
Oh my
So yeah.
God, I'd be freaking out, man. Like I have a few friends, like I have a friend of mine, actually she's now messaging me on Facebook as I talk to you because we are going to have a big chat about Novak's match today. But she is like Novak's biggest fan. She lives in Canada. And oh my God, if she had that opportunity, she'd be freaking out, she'd be freaking out. So congratulations, you played it cool, you look like you belong. But can I tell you a story? I'm really happy that Yannick Sinner told you that because there are so many, and you can use that to inspire you and to motivate you and to go forward. Because, like, I don't know if you know of this tennis player called Sophia Kenin. She's a player from the US, and she won the Australian Open about 4 or 5 years ago. And when she had a similar experience like you, where she went for a training, like a bit of a clinic when she was very young. And of course, she was, I think, a little bit younger than you. She was about 12 or 13. And I think there was a player there at the time. I can't remember if it was Novak or if it was Andy Murray or whoever. And she had the similar experience as you did. And that player told her, I can't remember who it was. I think it's Andy Murray. And he said, you're really good and you're going to win a Grand Slam one day. So she told her dad, look, he told me I'm going to do this. And she went and won a Grand Slam many years later in the Australian Open. So I hope, that kind of bodes well for you and it works out.
Yeah.
So tell us, like, who are the players that you look up to in the current, in the tennis arena, in the WTA, in the women's game, in the men's game? Are there any players that you specifically watch and you follow, or people that you consider role models?
Yeah, there are. So mainly I idolize Sabalenka a lot, the current women's number one.
Right.
Uh, and I got the opportunity to watch her play, also watch her practice
Live. Yeah.
during the Future Stars. Yeah. And I idolize her a lot just because of her main game is like power and strength to my game. And I feel like if I really focus on my game, it could be similar to hers. So I relate to her a lot too because she's like a bit more emotional on court, and I struggle with that as well sometimes.
Right.
So I really look up to her and admire her.
Yeah. She's really good. I mean, in the last 3 years or so, she's really improved because in 2021 she was still kind of in the top 40. But in the last couple of years, I think she's really realized that she has a massive power game and she's using her, her physique and everything to her advantage and just gives the ball a good whack, and now she's at number one and looking good to win a third Australian Open. You never know. So Sabalenka is. How about in the men's game? Is there anyone you follow in the men's game, or you don't watch the men's game too much?
I do watch the men's game.
Right.
And I do look up to a lot of the players,
Right.
especially Djokovic
Right.
and Yannick. I tend not to idolize them a whole lot because their journey is a bit different, right?
Of course.
Compared to
100%.
the path that we'll go on. So
100%. So in your mind, who is the GOAT? This is a discussion.
I'd have to say Djokovic just because of how long he's been in the game, like 34 years. And he's been world number one for longer than any of the other players in 24 Grand Slams. So they're huge numbers. over there. So
All right. Now I like you even more than I did before. Okay, because I'm also a massive Novak fan. So yeah, no, he's just like a like a force of nature, isn't he? At his age, I mean, okay, he doesn't win everything in like 3 sets anymore. He takes 4 sets, but just even if he doesn't win finals, just the fact that he gets to the semifinals and competes with people half his age is just incredible, right? I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know the kind of dedication and the level of discipline and fitness it takes to be that. It's incredible. So now there are so many tournaments around the world. I mean, there are the Grand Slams. Obviously, that's what everyone aspires to, play and be a part of and maybe win one day. What is your favorite? Have you played on many surfaces, or is it just hard court in Saudi, or what are the surfaces you played on? And what's the Grand Slam that you most like to be a part of and maybe even win one day?
okay, so as for the surfaces that I've played on, I've only played on hard and clay. Clay in Sri Lanka and hard here. They don't have clay courts here in Saudi.
Right.
But as for the Grand Slams, I would love to play Wimbledon. It's like number one on my list. I would love to win that one more than any of the other three. Just because when I was younger, that's the one that like really just clicked in my head. I was like, if you win that, you've made it in tennis,
Of
So
course, 100%. I mean, it's like the most prestigious thing you can do in the sport, right? I mean, win Wimbledon and
yeah.
Even tonight. Have you ever played on grass? Have you tried playing on grass? Have you ever had the opportunity to play on grass?
Unfortunately, not yet. Hopefully soon, though.
I mean, like you're just 15, right? And at 15, you're doing all this stuff. I also was told that you are going to be in the WTA Future Stars, that you're going to be a part of that. What's that about? Can you tell us a little bit about the Future Stars?
Yeah, so the Future Stars program, it actually happened last October.
Right.
And it was happening in parallel to the WTA finals, which were held in Riyadh also.
Right.
So basically what it was is it's essentially a training program for some of the top players in the area. So it was me and a few other Saudi girls, and we got to learn from basically the like WTA coaches and the physios. We got to meet them, and they gave us a lot of advice. And we also talked to a lot of the players like Paolini and Zheng, who they all came and talked to us. Yeah, and they basically advised us, coached us to, and we got to ask them whatever we wanted, because she was there and she told us a lot about her journey, and she even made a TikTok with us. So it was a really great experience. Ons Jabeur.
Oh, Ons Jabeur, yeah, she's really
The
good.
Tunisian.
Really. I'm just telling you, Rashmi, you have this amazing opportunity right now to be exposed to all these people, to these great talents, the players, the coaches. Because in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of players who are good here, but they don't have exposure to all that. And they probably never will, unfortunately. The infrastructure here in Sri Lanka isn't the best when it comes to every other sport except for freaking cricket. So no one really kind of unearths talent. So people have to do it on their own. There's another girl that I know. Actually, she sings as well. I produced a couple of songs for her. She's an under 15 or under 16 champion. Her name is Gehansa, who's also very good, who's trying to do some things. But I think at your age, it's a great time for really young players to come up, because nowadays, it's not like, okay, back in the day, you had players like Martina Hingis and Maria Sharapova coming up in the teens, but now it's even bigger because you get all these players from Ukraine and Russia coming in, like Mira Andreeva, for instance. She started when she was like 14 or 15. She's only 17 now, and, she's doing great things. So I think, from I haven't met you in person, but just from the way you talk about the sport and, I don't know, just from what I can see, I think you have a very bright future ahead of you. So what is the plan for 2025? What have you got planned for 2025?
So for 2025, I actually had a New Year's resolution to win a ITF J30 tournament. So that's definitely on the calendar. And we'll be traveling a lot and playing a lot of ITF juniors, and a lot of other tournaments, and as well as my studies, I have to get through O-levels this year while balancing all of this.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's important.
That's very important.
And yeah. And I also hope to make the national team actually for Sri Lanka for Davis Cup.
Oh, no.
I did come for trials last year, but unfortunately I fell short. So this time I'll definitely make it. So
Well, with this big win under your belt, and also Yannick Sinner saying that you can do it, I'm sure this time around it'll be a different story. Okay, Rashmi, it's lovely chatting to you. You seem like someone with a good head on their shoulders, and I think you're very mature for your age, from what I can see. And I just think nothing is impossible, really. And I'm glad to see that you're pushing forward. I had a chat with your dad. Apparently, I didn't know this, but your dad and I, we actually knew each other when you all reached Sri Lanka. So we kind of unearthed that connection again. But I'm glad to see that your dad's, pushing you, encouraging you. Your parents are doing that. That's very important to have a great support system. And, you genuinely seem like you like the sport. And I don't see any reason why, if you work hard, that you can't, get to the top 150, the top 200, or even the top 100 one day and progress from there. I know people think, oh, Anil, why you say top 200 men? Why can't you say top 50? But I mean, it's really hard to get to that. But I have no doubt that you'll be able to crack it. But just before I let you go, I just want to understand, for someone like you at 15 years of age, living in Saudi, right? If you wanted to get a wild card or something into one of these slams, or do you know how that works? Do you know how that works? You know the mechanics behind it?
I think it has all to do with the federations. So it's all up to the Saudi Tennis Federation, or obviously the Sri Lanka Tennis Federation. And if I perform well and I give them a reason to write to WTA and ask for a wild card, then they definitely do it for me, I'm sure.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, I hope it happens, because even when it came to Emma Raducanu, when she won the US Open, it was Tim Henman that actually pitched for her wild card and got her into that tournament. So she was kind of like an unknown then. So, all right. So, okay, Rashmi, thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to show everyone and just introduce everyone to you here in Sri Lanka. First, then when you one day, when you do achieve great things and go and win the Wimbledon, we can all say that, we saw you first on our television, and it'll be amazing. I mean, if you can forget the Wimbledon, if you can get there, obviously, but if you can get into some of the tournaments in the WTA, the tour, you have such a huge, following behind you. And I certainly hope that happens. And I don't see any reason why it can't happen. So all the best, Rashmi. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was such a nice chat.
There you go. That was Rashmi. Okay. What a nice person she is. And I only wish her the best of things to come. Like I said, I'm a huge tennis fan myself, and I know there are lots of tennis fans watching as well. And there's nothing more, we like that, having one of our own players, these grand slams, and then cheering on. Can you imagine how that must feel like? I mean, it must be amazing, right? So, we have so many great players in Sri Lanka as well, and people like Rashmi doing great things in the sport overseas. So I think it's only a matter of time. And by the way, if you know someone who's doing great things and you feel like, they need the spotlight kind of shone on them, and, if you want them to kind of have a platform, then you write to me on the email address that's right here at the bottom. And, we will do the needful. Okay. So until next time, guys, take care. God bless. Have a great week. And I'll talk to you soon.